Good evening and welcome to this special report. The date is Friday, March 27th, 2026, and the global security architecture built by the United States over the last 80 years is currently collapsing in real time. We have breaking, unprecedented news regarding the escalating war against Iran, and the details coming out of the Pentagon and the Middle East are staggering. The United States military has essentially abandoned its physical footprint in the Persian Gulf. All hell is breaking loose across the region, and the command structures that were supposed to project American power are completely disintegrating. Let me be absolutely clear about what we are learning tonight. American troops have abandoned basically all of their primary military bases across the Middle East. They have evacuated heavily fortified multi-billion-dollar installations, and they are now attempting to manage a massive regional war while working remotely from commercial hotels. And I want to repeat that because it defies everything we understand about modern American military doctrine. Our soldiers, commanders, and logistics personnel have fled their bases and are hiding in civilian hotels and temporary office spaces scattered across the Gulf. They are doing this because the physical bases themselves are no longer safe. They have become death traps. The Iranian military, backed heavily by Russian intelligence and Russian hardware, has spent the last month systematically dismantling American infrastructure in the region. The New York Times is now confirming the absolute devastation. At least 17 major United States military sites have been hit in the last few weeks alone. The financial toll is already pushing past $800 million in structural damage, but the human and strategic toll is immeasurable. The bases are gutted. We are looking at satellite imagery of collapsed roofs, completely smashed radar arrays, and obliterated runways. Much of the land-based military is now fighting this war remotely, sitting in hotel rooms with encrypted laptops, with the only exception being the fighter pilots and maintenance crews who have to physically touch the warplanes to conduct strike missions. This situation is so dire that military commanders in the region are actively leaking this information to the press. They are intentionally bypassing the White House because they want the American public to understand the sheer disaster this war has become. They have been thrown under the bus by the Trump administration, left exposed to a relentless barrage of precision strikes. And to make matters worse, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Iran knows exactly what the Americans are doing. The Iranian military is now actively utilizing its vast spy network across the Gulf states to hunt down the specific hotels where American troops are sheltering. The Revolutionary Guard has put out public calls urging locals to report the new temporary locations of dispersed American personnel. To understand the scale of this humiliation, we have to look at the map and see exactly what has been destroyed. Let us start in Kuwait, which borders Iran and has absorbed some of the most catastrophic damage. The facilities there are all but uninhabitable. At Port Shuaiba, an Iranian strike completely destroyed an American Army Tactical Operations Center, killing 6 United States service members. Iranian drones and ballistic missiles then targeted the Ali al-Salem air base, heavily damaging critical aircraft structures and injuring dozens of personnel. They struck Camp Buehring, tearing through maintenance facilities and fuel depots. Then they moved to Qatar. Iran launched a massive strike on the Al Udeid air base. This is not just any base. This is the regional air headquarters for the United States Central Command. The strike successfully took out a highly advanced early warning radar system, blinding American forces in the sector. In Bahrain, a one-way Iranian attack drone slammed directly into the communications equipment at the headquarters of the United States Fifth Fleet. In Saudi Arabia, at the Prince Sultan Air Base, Iranian missiles and drone swarms destroyed vital communications arrays and several massive refueling tankers. The administration wants to use words like obliterated to describe their own military actions. But the reality is that the American presence is what is being obliterated. Former White House official Anthony Scaramucci summarized the situation perfectly today. He stated that a forever basing empire is a $1 trillion liability, and that it is time for a lean navy and an over-the-horizon posture before the next war bleeds the country dry. But we do not have to wait for the next war to bleed us dry, because it is happening right now, today, in 2026. The most disturbing aspect of this entire collapse is how the Iranians are achieving such deadly accuracy. They are not doing this alone. Russia has fully entered this war on the side of Iran, and they are not even trying to hide it anymore. Vladimir Putin is actively providing the Iranian military with high-resolution satellite imagery, pinpoint targeting data, and real-time intelligence support. This is the exact data that is crippling the United States military. And while Russian intelligence helps Iran drop roofs on the heads of American soldiers, the diplomatic channels are a grotesque theater of the absurd. Russian officials like Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, Yuri Ushakov, and Kirill Dmitriev continue to hold meetings with Trump administration envoys like Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. The Russians are sitting at the negotiating table, extracting massive geopolitical concessions from the United States, and then they are walking out and bragging about how American bases are being wiped off the map. The financial press is finally catching up to what is happening. The Financial Times has published a massive expose citing officials briefed on the matter, detailing how Russia is sending phased shipments of drones, heavy weaponry, advanced medicine, and food directly to Iran. These deliveries began in early March and are flowing continuously right now. The route they are using is critical to understand. They are not flying these weapons over hostile airspace. They are using the Caspian Sea. If you look at the geography, the Caspian Sea sits directly between the southern border of Russia and the northern border of Iran. It is a completely insulated, protected maritime corridor. Over the last 24 hours, the Israeli military actually launched strikes against ships in the Caspian Sea and hit the Bandar Anzali port, targeting command and control hubs, warships, and shipyard infrastructure specifically used by this Russo-Iranian trade network. And for anyone wondering why Russia is sending drones to Iran when Iran originally invented the Shahed drone, you have to understand the modern military-industrial complex. Russia has completely onshored the production of Shahed drones during their ongoing war in Ukraine. They operate massive factories on Russian soil that produce these weapons on a staggering industrial scale, much like foreign car manufacturers' operating plants in the United States. So when American or Israeli forces manage to bomb a drone factory inside Iran, it does not matter. The Russians simply load up cargo ships in the Caspian Sea and replenish the Iranian stockpiles within days. Furthermore, Iran does not keep these weapons sitting out in the open. They have built massive, sprawling underground facilities that resemble subterranean shopping malls. These reinforced bunkers house their ballistic missiles and the endless supply of Russian-built Shahed drones, completely safe from American airstrikes. The nature of warfare has fundamentally changed, and the United States has completely failed to adapt. We are relying on outdated, incredibly expensive Patriot and THAAD missile defense systems, which the administration has aggressively pushed onto Middle Eastern allies. But these legacy systems are entirely useless against what we are seeing in 2026. Wars are now fought with drone swarms. China has spent the entire week mocking the United States, broadcasting highly produced military propaganda videos showing off their perfected drone swarm capabilities and dedicated drone interceptors. They are showing the world that they are ready for the battle of the future, while the American military is stuck in the past, taking heavy casualties from cheap, mass-produced flying bombs. The only nation that truly understands how to fight this new kind of war is Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky and the Ukrainian military have spent years fighting off these exact same Russian drone tactics. Against all odds, they have developed proprietary, incredibly advanced drone interceptor technology. They are literally using specialized drones to hunt and kill incoming attack drones in midair. They have engineered complex netting systems and have the intellectual and tactical knowledge to operate radar arrays against Shahed swarms better than any military on the planet. And yet, the Trump administration continues to alienate them. President Zelensky recently revealed a shocking piece of intelligence. He stated that Russia explicitly attempted to blackmail the United States. The Kremlin offered to stop sharing military targeting intelligence with Iran, but only if Washington completely cut off all intelligence sharing and military support to Ukraine. Zelensky confirmed that Ukrainian intelligence services have hard evidence of this Russian blackmail operation. Instead of standing up to this extortion, the current administration continues to operate as a subordinate to Moscow. The president continues to publicly blame Zelensky for the war in Ukraine, refusing to hold Vladimir Putin accountable. The administration has completely removed economic sanctions on Russian oil, allowing Moscow to generate billions of dollars to revive its teetering economy and fund the very weapons that are killing American soldiers in Kuwait. The American surrender to Russian interests extends far beyond the Middle East. It is playing out right now in the heart of Europe. The White House has officially dispatched Vice President J.D. Vance to Hungary. He will arrive there on April 7th and 8th. The sole purpose of this diplomatic trip is to prop up Viktor Orban, the right-wing authoritarian leader of Hungary, who operates as Vladimir Putin's most loyal proxy inside the European Union. Hungary is holding a massive election just days later, on April 12th. The stakes could not be higher. Current polling shows the pro-democracy, pro-European Union party, known as the TISA party, absolutely crushing Orban's ruling Fidesz party. Among decided voters, the pro-democracy coalition has widened its lead to a staggering 23 points. The Hungarian people are desperate to throw off Russian influence, but Orban is preparing to steal the election, and the American vice president is flying in to help him do it. International observers are warning that if Orban blatantly rigs this vote, it will trigger an uprising that makes the Euro-Maidan revolution look minor. We are talking about a potential civil conflict inside an active European Union and NATO member state, all facilitated by an American administration that prefers authoritarian puppets over democratic allies. While the world burns, the communications coming out of the White House have devolved into absolute madness. Just yesterday, official White House social media channels, including their verified Instagram and X accounts, posted a highly cryptic, deeply disturbing video featuring the words "launching soon," layered over imagery of nuclear themes. In the middle of a hot war with Iran and soaring tensions with Russia and China, the administration is posting teasers that look like nuclear launch threats. The incompetence is so staggering that even RT, the official Russian state propaganda network, openly mocked the American president. The Russian broadcast literally aired the clip and asked what on earth the American government was doing. It is a terrifying question. We have an administration running the country into the ground, abandoning military bases and posting cryptic nuclear threats on social media for engagement. The diplomatic isolation of the United States reached a new shameful low at the United Nations General Assembly yesterday. The international body brought forward a resolution to officially recognize and adopt the historical position that the enslavement of Africans constitutes the gravest crime against humanity. It was a straightforward moral declaration. 123 nations voted in favor of the resolution. Only 3 countries on the entire planet voted against it. Those 3 countries were Argentina, Israel, and the United States of America. The United States officially went on the record at the UN to vote against condemning the historical enslavement of Africans as a crime against humanity. It is a profound moral failure that further alienates America from the global South and the entire international community. And that alienation is violently boiling over in Iraq. For months, the American military base in Erbil, along with the United States Embassy, has been under constant, relentless attack by local militias. In response, American forces have been launching heavy airstrikes against Shiite militia groups across the country. But here is the critical, disastrous context. These Shiite militias are not rogue operators. They are deeply linked to the official Iraqi government and are formally integrated into the Iraqi armed forces. The entire country is a fragile tapestry of sectarian alliances, and the American strikes are tearing it apart. The United States recently launched an operation that killed 7 official Iraqi soldiers and wounded 13 others at a military medical clinic. On a separate day, American forces killed 15 members of the Popular Mobilization Forces, including their highly influential commander, Saad al-Balghi. According to official figures from the Iraqi government, American actions have now killed 80 domestic security personnel and wounded over 150, with several of these strikes occurring during an established ceasefire window. The retaliation has been massive. The Islamic resistance in Iraq has now officially authorized multiple combat operations against against all remaining American bases in the region. Over the last 24 hours, they have launched dozens of coordinated drone swarms, completely overwhelming American defenses. We are watching real-time footage of Iraqi state-sanctioned militias openly firing on American positions. The situation is completely out of control. In an attempt to contain the chaos, a coalition of Arab nations, including the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and Jordan, issued a joint diplomatic statement. They harshly condemned the Iranian attacks and directly demanded that the Iraqi government rein in its militias and stop the strikes against neighboring countries. But the government in Baghdad outright refused. Iraq has taken the position that because the United States struck their forces first, their militias have the legal and moral right to strike back. We are now looking at a scenario where Iraq and Iran are essentially aligning militarily against the American-backed Gulf states. It is a recipe for a total regional war. And right in the middle of this chaos, the Pentagon is actively moving forward with plans for a massive ground invasion of Karg Island. This island sits in the northern Persian Gulf and is the absolute beating heart of the Iranian oil export economy. Military analysts and strategists are screaming from the rooftops that an amphibious assault on Karg Island will be a bloodbath. It is heavily fortified, and any ground invasion will almost certainly result in mass casualties and a slaughter of American troops. It is a tactical nightmare, yet the administration appears completely determined to push forward, ignoring the warnings of their own commanders who are currently hiding in hotels just to stay alive. The complete collapse of American leadership means that traditional allies are now taking matters into their own hands. Yesterday, the French government held a highly classified video conference with its top military chiefs. The agenda was to figure out how France can build its own independent maritime alliance to secure the Strait of Hormuz, completely excluding the United States. Nobody in Europe, nobody in the Middle East, and nobody in Asia views Washington as a reliable partner anymore. And it is not just incompetence, it is outright cruelty. In Africa, the administration is using human lives as a geopolitical bargaining chip. The United States government is currently negotiating a deal that explicitly ties vital health funding to the extraction of critical minerals in Zambia. The administration is threatening to withhold life-saving HIV treatment for over 1 million Zambian citizens unless the Zambian government hands over exclusive rights to their mineral wealth. They are literally making the survival of 1 million people conditional on corporate mining access. It is an extortion racket on a catastrophic scale. Meanwhile, the economic shockwaves of this war are tearing through the global supply chain. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz has triggered an energy crisis that is paralyzing entire nations. In Australia, the situation is critical. More than 500 service stations across the country's 2 largest states have completely run out of gasoline and diesel. In New South Wales alone, over 13% of all fuel stations are empty, bringing commercial trucking and logistics to a grinding halt. In Asia, the island of Taiwan is officially running out of its liquefied natural gas reserves, facing imminent massive power blackouts across their industrial and civilian sectors. Everywhere you look, the current administration is causing pain, suffering, and chaos. We have voluntarily removed the THAAD and Patriot missile defense systems from South Korea, leaving them exposed to the north. We have pulled critical troop deployments out of Japan. It is the largest, most comprehensive betrayal of American allies in modern history. The United States is projecting the weakest geopolitical posture it has ever held since the Second World War. The international community is not laughing at us anymore. They are horrified. They are watching a superpower dismantle itself from the inside, abandoning its troops, betraying its allies, and threatening the stability of the entire globe. We will continue to track the troop movements, the impending invasion of Karg Island, and the economic fallout as this crisis deepens.